The Sound of Freedom is crushing at the box office right now, and it's surprising everyone since it's a faith-based film that even beat out Indiana Jones on its opening weekend. I saw the film last night, and my immediate reaction after watching the film was, wow. This film actually changed me, but probably not for the reasons that you're thinking. So let's go ahead and talk about what I loved about the film, what my cautions and reservations are for you if you haven't seen it yet, and what I thought about the film from a Christian perspective. All right, let's get into it. Now, as usual, I won't be saying anything that you can't find in the synopsis or the trailer, so you don't have to worry about any spoilers. So if you aren't aware, the movie's based on the true story of a former government agent named Tim Ballard who embarks on a mission to rescue children who were kidnapped and trafficked in Colombia. Tim makes it his personal mission to save a child and his sister from unimaginable events. And as he embarks on his incredibly dangerous mission to save them, he realizes that he's not only risking his own life in an attempt to save them, but he's also risking the children's lives as well. So without giving away too much, let's go ahead and start off with what I really liked about this movie. Now, when the film started, the first thing I noticed was the production value, because even from a basic film perspective, they used perfect camera angles that really helped to tell the story incredibly well. They had a lot of lower angled cameras that you probably wouldn't notice consciously, but subconsciously, it really helps you to understand the story from the perspective of the children. They also used a lot of tight and close shots to help center in on the drama, and the scene locations that they filmed on looked amazing. Very well done. And it's also amazing that for an independent film, it also didn't feel like a cheaply made movie or one of those cheesy faith-based films or anything like that. Everything felt pretty natural and it was clearly done at a high level. So from a cinema photography perspective, I thought they did a fantastic job. And Jim Caviezel, who you might know for playing Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, he did such a good job in performing as Tim Ballard. There's something about Jim's face where he always looks like he's on the verge of breaking down and just sobbing in tears, and that type of aura was actually perfect for his role in this movie. There were definitely times where I felt emotional watching his scenes because you could just feel the passion coming from his character. And it wasn't just him, because I think that everybody in the movie did an excellent job in acting. Even the kids, they were incredible actors. The challenge with this type of movie is that you want the audience to be able to grasp the immensity as well as the horrific nature of what the trafficked children go through without getting too explicit, since it's such an unpleasant thing to think about, let alone visualize. But in my opinion, this movie somehow pulled it off by making these disturbing truths known without making it too difficult to watch. And although some people have been trying to politicize this movie, I actually like the fact that it wasn't political in nature, because it wasn't about the left or the right. It was simply about protecting children. And so it had a message that everyone should be able to get behind. Now, when it comes to the things that I didn't like, I honestly don't have too many gripes about the film's production, but there's still some caveats that I think that you should be aware of if you do plan to go see it. First, if you're sensitive to language, while not extensive throughout, there's a few places where certain words are used, but it's not gratuitous, and in my opinion, it actually did lend to the realism of the story. And by the way, on that note, I would advise for you to be cautious before bringing anyone under the age of 13 to see it. The reason why is because the realism of the movie can be a bit much for people that are younger, but I hope that this doesn't deter you from seeing it, because I think that it's still appropriate for older audiences. Alright, now with that out of the way, let's get into my thoughts on the film from a Christian perspective. So while this movie wasn't an overtly Christian film, it was still implicitly a faith-based film, and there were several themes and topics covered that we as Christians can definitely get behind. Obviously, with such a heavy subject, the theme of being protective and vigilant over our children stuck with me in a very deep way, especially as a father of 3. And believe me, I know as a parent, this topic is one that's really tough to think about, but it's also one that's absolutely necessary to think about. But as I watched the movie, what really kept striking me was this eerie realization that those horrors and atrocities are going on as we speak, and how little that actually crosses our minds. And this actually made me feel convicted. With most people largely unaware that right now there are millions of children in slavery, it made me think of how we tend to deal with topics that haven't directly impacted us personally. What I've noticed is that when we're dealing with these issues that don't directly affect us personally, we can become desensitized and start to think of the victims more as statistics and numbers rather than what they really are. And that's people that were created in the beautiful image of God. I thought about just how differently I would be thinking about this topic if I or someone that I know closely has been affected by this. I would be taking the issue far more seriously, and I would be touched in a much stronger way without even having seen the movie. This is why I was reminded of what Jesus said about loving our neighbors as ourselves. What that means is putting ourselves in in the shoes of others and understanding their struggle even without us personally going through it and acting accordingly. This movie actually made me start to question how seriously I've been taking this command. What I've seen in myself and others is that when it comes to heavy issues like this, because they're so unsettling, it's easier for us to just go about our days and try not to think too much about these sorts of things happening. Even subconsciously, we might be aware that thinking about these sorts of things too much, we can become overburdened with the awareness of the issue and the lack of awareness of what we can practically do to help fix the problem. But I also know that as Christians, we're told to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. So we're not called to be silent, but to speak up for the voiceless, and who is more voiceless than the children? That's one of the reasons why this movie really did change my thinking in this way, helping me to think deeper about these types of issues going forward and putting myself in the position of those who are directly impacted and affected by this. But of course, not all of us are capable of doing what Tim did and traveling to Colombia with a SWAT team. But still, there are other things that we can do. Everyone watching this video can and should take time to pray for those who are affected by this issue. Prayer is powerful, and we need more people praying about it, and not just stopping there either. The next step that's needed to make a difference in this area is awareness. You can speak up by spreading awareness about this tragic reality because it doesn't get enough coverage in our media today, and it's undoubtedly one of the most tragic problems that we face today worldwide. One way to speak up for them is actually through this movie, because storytelling is one of the most powerful tools that get people to take issues more seriously, and this film is a perfect example of that. So I believe that the more people that see it, the more people that we can reach with the voices of the victims who can't speak for themselves. And what's great about this movie coming out of Angel Studios is that Angel has a pay it forward feature that allows for people to purchase tickets for others so that it's not a financial burden for them and their families to go see the movie. So I reached out to Angel Studios and I asked them to partner with me for this video so that way we can get as many people as possible to see the movie to help spread the awareness of this problem. They created a link that allows for all of my viewers to see the movie free of charge so that way we can collectively become more aware of this issue. I put the link down below, and if you click the link, you can get free tickets for you and your entire family, and don't feel guilty for taking free tickets. You taking free tickets is the point, so take as many as you need and bring as many people as you can to see the movie, because Angel has millions of free tickets just sitting there waiting to be claimed. So please take the tickets and go see the movie. Another thing that I could recommend is, of course, after vetting them, supporting organizations that are dedicated to combating this horrific practice. You can find several organizations online, but please be careful. Do your due diligence before donating to make sure that your conscience aligns with their values and your money is being used responsibly. So with all that being said, this film really did change how I think about things like this. It showed me what just one man can do, who takes seriously the suffering of the voiceless, loving his neighbor as he loves himself, making their problems his problems. So imagine what could be done if we all did the same. As you watch this movie, I hope that you can prayerfully consider thinking of ways that you can speak for the voiceless who need their story to be told and defending those who can't defend themselves. So overall, while this definitely isn't a feel-good motion picture, it's still a really good film and a solid thriller in its own right. And when paired with the message that it promotes, I think that it's a movie that all of us can get behind. If you made it this far in the video and you've heard everything that I've had to say and you're deciding to not click the link down below to go watch it for free, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what do you mean?